Good afternoon and welcome to Africa Today. I am Ainan Lubem. First, let's talk the headlines. On the headlines, uncollected PVCs determinant in next Osun elections. On the foreign scene, Akufo-Addo pleads Ghanaian support amidst turmoil. South African president arrives in UK for King State visit. On sports, Senegal ready to play Netherlands without Mane. And now the news in detail. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Sunday departed Abuja for Ottawa, the Canadian capital, for a 3-day state visit. This was contained in a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant to the Vice President on Media and Publicity, Laolu Akande. This will be the first high-level visit by a Nigerian leader to Canada since the year 2000, when former President Olusegun Obasanjo visited the North American nation. According to the statement, he will meet with representatives of the Canadian business community and investors, especially from the creative industry and technology. Nigeria and Canada have over the years maintained cordial bilateral relationships. The VP is expected back in Abuja later in the week. Nigeria's Minister of Education, Adamu, has called on well-meaning citizens to support in the development of the education sector, as government alone cannot shoulder the responsibility of funding the sector. The minister, represented by the Director of Technology and Science in the ministry, Grace Jaku, spoke in Ado-Ekiti on Saturday during the 18th Combined Convocation Ceremony of the Federal Polytechnic, Ado-Ekiti in Ekiti State, where 13,677 higher national diploma and national diploma students of 2018, 2019, 2020 academic sessions graduated. He charged polytechnics to strategize and find ways of enhancing their revenue base to complement government funds, as he called on well-meaning Nigerians to assist the Federal Polytechnic in sponsoring projects and programs that would enhance effective learning and teaching. On his part, Director Hepzibah Oladibeye advised the graduates, who he said have what it takes to succeed, to imbibe hard work to better their future. Residential Electoral Commissioner for the Independent National Electoral Commission, that is INEC, in Osun State, Mutiu Agbuke, has called on eligible voters in the state that have not collected their permanent voter cards to do so on time. Agbuke spoke at the Union Baptist Church, Odiolowo, Oshogbo, on Sunday while sensitizing the congregation to the 2023 general election. He said the people of the state have refused to collect their PVCs, and reports show that in Osun State there are 437,064 total number of voters. This number of PVC, he said, is sufficient to make someone a governor in the state. The Resident Electoral Commissioner is appealing to residents and indigents to collect their PVCs. In a related development, ahead of the 2023 general elections, security agencies have expressed concerns about likely violence in a number of states like Rivers, Borno State. Alexis, speed up now. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to news from other parts of West Africa. Ghanaian President Nana Akufo-Addo has asked Ghanaians to keep with his government to turn the current economic crisis around. He said his government is determined to change the situation. According to Akufo-Addo, the citizenry will soon witness results from some of the decisions and actions that have been taken to reduce the problems. The president said these engagements with relevant institutions and agencies are part of moves to address the current economic hardships. Recently, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, apologized to Ghanaians for the hardships being suffered in recent times. According to him, the brunt borne by the populace due to the ongoing economic turmoil is unfortunate. Burkina Faso's leaders are calling for calm after hundreds of demonstrators, some carrying Russian flags, took to the capital streets calling for French troops and the French ambassador to leave the country. In its statement, the Burkinabe government has also sought to reassure the international community that they will not deviate from the rules and principles protecting diplomats present on Burkinabe soil. Police used tear gas against protesters who were mainly gathered at the French embassy in the capital, Ouagadougou, and a nearby French military base in Komboinse. There have been regular anti-France rallies since the latest military coup in September, which brought Captain Ibrahim Traoré to power. France has had a military base in Burkina Faso for several years on the basis of cooperation agreements signed after independence in 1960. The situation is regularly criticized by civil society organizations and activists. We now move to other parts of Africa after this break. Stay with us. In other parts of Africa, votes are being counted in Equatorial Guinea, where President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Basogo is set to extend his 43-year rule. Preliminary results on the presidential election show that 80-year-old leader has received the majority of votes counted so far. The Convergence for Social Democratic Democracy, that is CPDS, party said opposition parties allowed to compete in the polls has claimed flagrant and rampant irregularities that have been placed by past elections. The final results are expected later today. Reports show that Obiang seized power in a military coup in 1979 when he overthrew his uncle, who was serving as president. He was widely speculated to hand over power to his son, Vice President Teodorin Obiang Nguema, who is embroiled in numerous corruption scandals abroad. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has landed in Britain ahead of the first state visit hosted by King Charles III as monarch today. Ramaphosa arrived at the London Stansted Airport on a South African airline Air Force jet and was met by a British military guard of honor. The official program starts on Tuesday and will include a state banquet at Buckingham Palace. The last state visit to the UK came in June 2019 when Queen Elizabeth II hosted US President Donald Trump and his wife Melania. The pomp of the major diplomatic event, however, will be clouded by events in South Africa, where Ramaphosa risks impeachment for allegedly covering up a crime. Climate change, trade, and Charles' visions for the Commonwealth are expected to be on the agenda. Ramaphosa was last in London for the state funeral for the Queen at Westminster Abbey in September. His state visit comes more than a decade after the last by a South African leader when Jacob Zuma came to the UK in 2010. Another 5-story residential building has said to have collapsed in the early hours of today in Ruiri, the outskirts of Kenyan capital Nairobi, hours after over 100 tenants were evacuated. The evacuation was said to have been witnessed by the local governor, Kimani Wamatangi, on Sunday afternoon after the building developed cracks. The National Construction Authority was earlier reported to have found it to be structurally unsound, according to local media reports. This is the second building to collapse in Kiambu within 1 week. On November 17, another 5-story building collapsed in Raka, Kiambu County. Next on Africa Today is business news. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now to business news. On business, Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit, that is the NFIU, has flagged suspicious transactions valued at over 100 billion naira between January and March 2022. According to a suspicious transaction report activity released on Sunday, the development came as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, that is the EFCC, and NFIU officials said they had intensified their surveillance on campaign spending by political parties and their candidates ahead of the 2023 polls. Multiple EFCC and NFIU sources said personnel were carrying out a series of joint operations to close in on several suspicious spending by parties, candidates and top chieftains. The report also shows that suspicious transactions have risen by 23% in the first quarter of this year compared to the corresponding period of last year. Meanwhile, out of the 2,845,927 suspicious transactions recorded by the institution in the first quarter of the year, banks alone accounted for 2,810,213 according to the activity statistics. Away from the shores of Nigeria, still talking business, South Africa's power utility has run out of money to buy diesel for its critical plants. This is according to the Minister of Public Enterprises. Minister Pravin Gordhan said in a statement that his department would be working with the National Treasury to find money to buy supplies of diesel. Gordhan had met with the utilities company's board on Sunday night and called for exceptional interventions to create more reliability in power supply. The company is constrained by a massive $26 billion debt and has old inefficient power stations that require constant work to keep them running. It means people will experience rolling blackouts of up to 6 hours a day.
A very good afternoon to you and welcome to Sport News on Africa Today. I am Richard Badung. Captain of Nigeria's male senior cricket team, Sylvester Okpe, has set the goal of the team ahead of the forthcoming ICC T20 sub-regional qualifier is beyond the World Cup ticket. The Yellow Greens have been in camp since the end of October and have had their initial 20-man list cut short to 14 ahead of the qualifiers. He added that reaching the regional final as well as the World Cup will not only be a win for Nigeria but also propel the careers of the players. Nigeria is currently ranked number 43 in the world with 1,482 points in the November T20 rankings. The tournament, which is expected to take place from the 28th of November to the 8th of December, as Nigerian has been drawn alongside Tanzania, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, Eswatini, the Gambia and Cameroon, with top 2 teams scheduled to progress from the next phase of qualification in Group B. Away from that one to other sporting matters, the technical advisor of Bendel Insurance, Monday Odige, has said the team is still a work in progress, even though they emerged as champions of the just concluded Nigerian National League Super 4. While reacting to the tournament, the coach was excited about the platform as they were able to assess their readiness for the new season. Otherwise known as the Benin Arsenal, on Saturday at the Samson Siasia Stadium in Yenagoa, defeated Doma United of Gombe 2-1 to finish at top of the Super 4 on 7 points. Still on Africa sports, Senegal players attended a training session at Al Thumama Stadium in Doha on Sunday ahead of their Qatar 2022 World Cup football opener against Netherlands. The squad and the coach of Africa's reigning champions had to come to terms with the absence of star winger Sadio Mane and find a new strategy to realize their ambitions and advance in the competition. The Senegalese team indeed remains resourceful without Mane. AS Monaco winger Ismail Jacobs was called to join the squad but is facing administrative issues delaying his participation. After playing with the Netherlands on November 21, the Teranga Lions will face Ecuador and host Qatar in Group A. Mane was ruled out of the tournament after picking up a leg injury. Took to Instagram on Sunday to cheer on his teammates. He said he was sure the team would fight as one man. And that's your sport news on Africa Today. Back to Aynan Lubem for the rest of the news. I am Richard Badun.
Thank you, Richard Badun, for the sports news, and that's Africa Today. But before we go, here are the headlines once again. Earlier on the headlines, we told you uncollected PVC is determinant in next Osun election. On the foreign scene, Akufo-Addo pleads Ghanaian support amidst Tom Earl. South African president arrives in UK for King's State visit. While on sports, we told you Senegal ready to play the Netherlands without money. Remember to visit us on Facebook, Instagram and YouTube channel at Hills TV. I am